Hello everyone. Good morning all.
Halo, Mr. Karyono.
Hello.
Hmm.
There are some of you still mute the microphone.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Hey. So I saw that there are more than 10 of you already finished the Google form earlier, but there are only 6 here. Okay, but it's okay. So, what do you think of the problem in Google form there that you just done? Is it easy or difficult? Did you find the answer? Yes, Aziz. Anyone?
I know, sir. Actually, maybe that is really, no, maybe easy, but I don't know about the answer, about the
The
apa ya
answer.
nilainya benar atau enggak, right or
Okay,
no.
yeah, it's okay. So you can use both English and Bahasa Indonesia here. Don't worry, right? Okay, yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, the most important thing is that we have. I know what you. If you have any questions, I know what your problem is or anything. Okay. So, okay. So if you don't have any further question, we are going to start since most of you are already here, right? Okay. The first part, I think, yesterday you already took the some pre-test, right?
Ma'am, ini apa nih subjeknya?
Okay,
Yes, sir.
yeah, you have got the pre-test from reading, structure, and listening, right? So we will start with the first one, structure. Okay, our topic today is
Your
our
sound very low.
yeah, our topic today is about the subject and verb, right? Okay, as you
Yes.
can see, there are what we call it when we talk in English. A sentence must contain subject and then a verb. Okay, yeah. So like this, the rules in English is clear that every English sentence must have subject and verb. It's a little bit different from Bahasa Indonesia because in Bahasa Indonesia, the sentence doesn't have to have a verb. Di dalam bahasa Indonesia, kalimat itu tidak selalu ada verbnya. Contohnya, when we want to say, saya sedang sedih. When you say saya sedang sedih, there is only subject, saya, and then sedih, adjective. But in English, you cannot use that kind of sentence, so you have to say, I am sad. So you cannot say, I said. So you will have to say, I am sad. So that's why we have to use verb. So that's the difference between English and in Bahasa Indonesia. And then why is it also important to discuss subject and verb? Yeah, because in the TOEFL test, with understanding this one rule, we have to be able to identify the subject and verb. And when we are able to identify the subject and the verb, then we we are more likely to answer all the questions. So that's the rule number one. And rule number two, which later you are going to discuss with other lecture, is every verb must agree with the subject. We are going to touch that a little bit. So the first thing that we are going to start is, of course, we are going to start discussing what subject is. Okay. As you can see, yeah, subject is any form of noun that performs an action of the verb or about which something is stated. What does it mean? It means that subject is always a noun, and the forms of noun depends on what we need to supply on that sentence. It can be just a single word. It could be several words that has a meaning that we call as phrase, or it could be in the form of clauses. Okay, and then where do we usually put the subject? The position of the subject is always it comes after verb at the beginning of the sentence. Sorry, it comes before verb, but there are some times, some structures in which the subject comes after the verb. The example here, when we form a question, when we form a question, as you can see here, the subject, who is she? The question, who is she? The subject is she, and then the verb is it. And the subject, the word she, comes after the verb. Okay, so this is what we call as inverted, which later on you are going to discuss. Okay, specifically about this inverted uh, subject and verb. Okay, and then as you can see here, well, we at the beginning we already say that when we talk about subject, it means that it performs an action or something is stated. Like here, the students go to school early in the morning. So here, the students perform the action of go here. Okay, and then when I say the sentence, she is sad. She is. It shows sad. It shows the state, the condition, the emotion of she. Okay. Next, yeah. So since subject is noun in any form, so they can come in words, phrases, and clauses. Of course, the first one is the what is it? The word. Okay. So we have four different kinds of noun as a subject here. It can be common noun or proper noun, pronoun, or non-referential case. Then for common noun, it when we use things as the subject, when we use things to begin our sentence. Okay, like for example, the book. Okay, and then we have proper noun. It refers to names of something, something that is already fixed. You cannot change because it's a name of something. It can be a person, a city, days, month, brand, school names, or anything. Okay, and then next we have pronoun. We use pronoun to substitute proper noun and common noun to prevent we repeating the same words. Take an example when we want to talk about someone, right? Of course, it would be, it sounds like boring if we repeat the same name at all times. That's why we use pronoun. And of course, when we talk about pronoun, there are several kinds of pronouns like subjective pronoun, objective pronoun, possessive pronoun. But what we use for subject, of course, only subjective pronoun. In this case, you can use I, you, he, she, we, they, or it. Okay. And the last one is we have like non-referential. Non-referential here we have there and it. Okay. This subject must be there. Why? Because the rule in English, any sentence in English, every English sentence must have subject and verb. For example, when we want to talk about time, Sunday, we cannot just say Sunday, so we have to say it's Sunday. When we want to talk about time, we don't say 9 o'clock. No, we need a subject there, so we say it's 9 o'clock, or it's the distance. When we talk about the distance from our school to our house, so we will say it's 4 kilometers, not just say simply 4 kilometers. And whether it's a cool day, it's nice there, or environment. Like for example, this one during the isolation, the stay home moment, we have to say it's so quiet here. Usually it's crowded. So when you say it's quiet, it's crowded, it shows the environment. Going back to the first one, that is common things. Of course, when we talk about things, we can put them into different kinds of classification depending on the function. Like for example, it could be countable or uncountable, things that we can count and things that we cannot count, plural, singular, concrete or abstract. Concrete words, the real one that we can touch, we can see. Abstract, mostly about feelings. Like for example, your love, your sadness, something like that. Happiness, we cannot see it, but we can feel it. Okay. And this one, note for this, later on, countable, uncountable, plural, singular, later on, you are going to be using it when we talk about subject verb agreement. So you are going to discuss further about this when we decide the use of verb. So that's what we call as the first part of noun words. Any question? Feel free to ask question before we move to phrases. Okay. So I assume there is no question. Let's move on. Okay. So next is phrases. Noun also comes in the form of phrases here. Okay. And it means that the noun is not just a single word, right? Like book, right? So we combine those nouns with prepositions, determiners, adjectives, and compound nouns. Okay. Prepositions means like example, you are students of LPDP, so students of LPDP are having online class now.
Salah kah?
Okay.
LPG kan? Salah kah? Bukan di sini kapal. Siapa kan namanya?
Okay.
Maksudnya
Next.
yang mau diantar ke siapa?
Okay.
Atas nama siapa?
Next we have what we call as determiners. As you know in
Bapaknya
English,
lanjut terus.
we cannot use a word, a noun, just simply saying a noun. Like for example, book. We cannot say just I need
Saifuddin.
book. Better when we have to say I need more book.
Oh, bukan. Iya, bukan.
I need more books, for example, like that. Okay. And then so the word I need the book, the word this is determined. Or when we want to say how many or how much something that we need, then we use determiners. A book is what we need. 1 kilogram of apples will be useful today. Okay. A cup of coffee is what I need now. Okay. And then we also have adjectives. These adjectives we put this to give a description of the noun that we use. Like, for example, like intelligent students. And later on, of course, we can also combine this with the determiners like two intelligent students. Okay, so this is the most often one. And when we talk adjectives, it can also come in the form of like uh, present participle and past participle, which you are going to discuss later. Okay, example is like the sitting girl on the corner is my daughter. Okay. And the last example of noun phrases in the form of compound noun. Compound noun is actually two nouns combined together to form a new word. Like for example, pencil case. Both pencil and case are actually nouns, but they form a new word. Why? Yeah, because we need that new word to name something new. Like for example, when we have mobile phone. This is also an example of compound noun. So we need to put another word to describe the new word. So this is in the form of phrases. Okay, and that the last one is clauses. Clauses. This is what we call as noun clause. Okay, when we form noun clause, it can be from questions, it can be from the word whether, or we start with that. Okay, so for example, we start with a question. What does he do? If we, it's just that it's not something that problem for us about what he does, so we can answer by saying what he does is not a problem to me. Excuse me. Okay. So this is from question. So when you ask question, for example, where does he live? So we have to take, we can change into where he lives is not a problem for me. Note, it is taken from question since it becomes just a clause. It's a part of noun clause. So the question changes form, not a question anymore, but it becomes a statement. Okay? Don't worry, you are going to discuss this further in the next session. And then it also comes with whether. When we talk about option, we usually talk about this option, right? So whether we go or not, okay? So it's the word or not is an optional. So we can say whether we go should be decided soon, okay? And then that we have to stay at home until usually when we talk about when we use that it shows about we use this to show fact. This is a fact that we have to stay home until the end of the month concerns me a lot. Yeah. Any questions so far? Now, when I give you assignment about this identifying subject with the Google form, we go back to the okay, like this. Uh, yeah. When I give you exam assignment with Google form, this one, yeah. Some of you answer variously, right? Okay, like this, canaries. Okay, as you can see, the real answer is actually this one, canaries, right? Okay, because phrase is the verb, so the
Yes.
subject is the word that comes before the verb. So this canaries. How about this? As you can see here, I give you example of a subject that comes in a phrase. The value of precious gems is determined, and as you see, is the verb, it means that all the words that comes before the verb is the subject. If your answer is the value of precious gems is a verb, that's correct. Some of you answer only with the word the value. Okay, yeah, so it's also fine. It is also acceptable. Okay, why? Yeah, because later on you have to identify which of these phrase is actually the main verb, which will determine the form of the verb. Sorry, which of these phrase is the main noun, the main subject, which later will determine the form of the verb. So good. Like this, except for this is in the form of clause. So automatically the whole clause from the word what until her life here is the one that comes before the verb. So here the whole word here is the subject, not just she, because she is the subject of the clause. But when we talk about the main subject of this sentence is what she really wants in her life. Okay, good. Let's go back to the meeting, our slide. Mhm. Okay, it says that time is running up because this is only limited, so I'm going to do it quickly. Mhm. Okay, so now we have the question is what problem that we have concerning the subject in a TOEFL test. Okay, in the TOEFL test, the main problem that we found is like this. You will find this subject concern problem concerning subjects. The first is the missing subject. Okay, so sometimes in the TOEFL test, the first part of the structure you will meet this kind of problem. Okay, as you can see here, blah 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 was ringing continuously for hours. It means you will have to choose. As you can see, there is a verb here. So it means what is missing is the subject. So look at the options here. Which of these options is the real verb? So loudly, surely this is an adverb, so it's not a noun, so it's not the correct answer. In the morning, this is also adverb of time, so it's still not the answer. And we have two possible answers because both contain things or noun, the phone. Since there is the word because, which makes the sentence not a dependent one or just a dependent clause, not an independent one. So I think the best answer is C, the phone. And second, we have extra subjects. Okay, since the TOEFL test, mostly the subject that you use is in the form of phrase or clauses, or in the form of later on you will find a positive or something like that. So sometimes they will distract you with a sentence as if it is already correct, like this. Okay, so it says that it is correct, but actually, as you can see here, the first recorded use of natural gas to light street lamps. As you can see here, there is the word it here. This is already a phrase, but they use it. So there are two noun here, two subjects. There is an extra subject. Okay. So any question? Anyone? No? Okay. Now, if you don't have any questions, I'm going to send you the link. And since the meeting or the Zoom already limit the time, okay, so I'm going to send you the activity and I'm going to give you time and I want you to try to do the activity. I will send the activity to our, what is it, to our WhatsApp and I want you to do the activity by clicking the link. Okay. Okay. So let's end the meeting and after for about 10 minutes, I'm going to invite you to the meeting. Okay. Is that
Okay,
clear?
sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
Yes,
sir.
you.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.